Good evening, I'm Charisse Halsell, and here's what's ahead for you on 7 News tonight. WPC Michelle Brown, the cop charged for Farid Ahmad's murder, is a free woman tonight. You'll hear why the judge said he could not convict her of murder. And COVID deaths and cases increasing. We'll tell you about the soft lockdown to contain it. Plus, 2 murders to report tonight, one in the city and another in PG. These stories and much more ahead on 7 News tonight, so please stay tuned.
I'm drinking Caribbean. Go,
your number one hit music station.
Add some ice and we good to go. Party with the best, strictly Quayo. Caribbean, go. With Sprite Urco. Add some ice and we good to go. We party with the best, strictly Quayo. Where I come from, we call it ghetto whiskey. 1 shot, 2 shot, feeling tipsy. Our little head spinning like a frisbee. Next day, do it again, coming on business. High, 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 like I wanna fly. I get high, like I wanna fly. I'm drinking Caribbean, go, with Sprite Urco. Add some ice and we good to go. We party with the best, strictly
Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Quayle's Distillery Limited.
It's that time of year again. And whether you're buying gifts for loved ones, shopping for new furniture and appliances, or simply doing business as usual, the Belize Tax Service Department would like to remind you to always ask for a tax receipt with every purchase. Let us all do our part to ensure the further growth of Belize. Together we build our country, your contribution, our development.
Do you want quick cash for your gold? Then take advantage of Monica's Pawn Shop's big loans on gold and our guaranteed low rate of only 10% on all pawn jewelry. But it doesn't stop there. We also pawn TVs, buy scrap gold, and pawn vehicles that you can still drive. Visit Monica's Pawn Shop today in our Belize City location at number 128 Cemetery Road, our Belmopan location at number 5 Garden Plaza, our Orange Walk location, number 2 Belize Carazal Road. Give us a call at 207-0970 and get more money for your gold jewelry.
That's the way,
That'll be $50. Thank you. Wait, hey, this 50 is a fake.
How do you know it's a fake?
What are you talking about, sir? How can I identify a genuine note from a fake note?
Well, a genuine 50 has a watermark with the Jaguar and the written words of the 50, also a thread.
Know your money and know a fake one when you see it. Do not rely on any one security feature. Look for the clarity and quality of printing. The printed lines and colors should be sharp and clear. Feel the quality of the paper and the raised print. Hold the note up to the light to see the windowed security thread. It should form one complete line when held up to the light. The watermark and denominational electrotype. The Jaguar is the watermark in the $100 and $50 notes. The Sleeping Giant is the watermark in the $20, $10, $5, and $2 notes. The see-through feature. The parts of the design printed on the back should fit exactly within the unprinted areas of the front to form the complete design. Check the $100 note for the toucan hologram with the periwinkle flower overprint. Tilt it to see the small images of the toucan and the numeral 100. Check the $50 note for the green foil angelfish. Check even closer. Use an ultraviolet light to see the fluorescent features. Use a magnifier to see the microlettering. Tiny letters that read Central Bank of Belize and the value of the note. Stop the circulation of counterfeit Belize currency notes. Pass all counterfeits to the police at once. It is a criminal offense to hold or use a counterfeit. Be safe, be sure, Know your money.
For hydration, when the choice is yours, choose the brand you have always trusted. Crystal Water. Taste you can trust.
'Twas the weeks before Christmas, and all through the store, all the family was preparing for what was in store. Preparations being made, decorations being hung. Everyone did their part to ready the best deals in town. Because at Brothers Habet, it's that time of year where the colors of the rainbow are ours to share. Yes, Berger, Valspar, Domestic, and Penta, all month discounted by 15%. And not just that, so please don't forget, we have deals on much more in the store, you bet. Power tools, tiles, Westinghouse light fixtures, and a whole clearance section, my brothers and sisters. Plus our annual 12 Days of Christmas promotion. Win $500 gift certificates for your devotion. So come to Brothers Habet and Habet too. Wishing a Merry Christmas from all of we to you.
Have a holly jolly Christmas this December with NextGen. Contact us today to sign up for free service installation or reconnection and receive 1 month free on your acquired service. Celebrate the spirit of the season by entering our grand raffle. This month, new and existing customers can enter a chance to win a 40-inch smart TV or up to 3 months free bundled service with a Debo 3. Visit our office for a chance to win today. Our raffle will be drawn live on the national channel. From our NextGen family to yours, we wish you peace and joy throughout the Christmas season. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
A week ago, we brought you extensive coverage of the high-profile murder trial of Police Constable Michelle Brown. She is the cop from the department's Special Assignment Team who was charged with the December 2017 murder of Farid Ahmad, the well-known barber from Hatteville. Well, Justice Colin Williams, who presided over this trial with a jury, has found her not guilty of Ahmad's murder. We have a detailed account of the judge's reasoning for the acquittal. But we start first with the Ahmad family's reaction to the verdict. Daniel Ortiz has that story.
Police Constable Michelle Brown walked out of the Supreme Court this morning a free woman. After spending almost 2 years on remand at the Belize Central Prison, Justice Colin Williams found her not guilty of the 2017 murder of Farid Ahmad. This acquittal is certainly a relief for Brown, who is no longer accused of that high-profile crime. She can now reconnect with her children and her family, return to work, and collect all that back pay that was accumulated while she was on interdiction. But the loved ones of Farid Ahmad, the man Brown was initially accused of fatally shooting at close range, will have to come to terms with the fact that no one will face any legal consequences for his violent death.
As a family, we were resolute to leave the matter up to the court and the hands of the law. And so there is a verdict, and we respect that verdict. And as a family, we will just continue to move on, pick up the pieces, and, move on from here.
Essentially, you guys are not getting justice for the death of your brother.
Well, justice for us means Farid being here. And if Farid is not here, then, that it's...
What is the next step for healing for your family, given that the culprit, whoever that person is still out here?
At the end of the day, we are also a God-fearing family. And so that person or those persons will have to live with what they did and have to give account to the best of judge, right? And so we will live with that. But in terms of, picking up the pieces, we will go on and continue remembering Farid as the loving brother and caring son and father and loving husband as he was, and continue living with those cherished memories, right? As we have been doing for the past 3 to 4 years.
The judge spent almost 2 hours going through all the evidence that emerged in this trial without a jury. He made sure to note that there were significant gaps in the case where the authorities failed to deliver key pieces of forensic evidence that could have helped address important doubts he had about Brown's guilt or innocence.
Quite a bit came up during the trial. I think as well that there were certain names of officers that she also mentioned, right? And maybe that is an element for question in terms of the prosecution and the DPP's office. Why were those missing pieces not presented in the trial, right? It's you know, it's unfortunate how it ended up, but as I said, we had every optimism and respect for the process of the law. And so, yes, we did hear some disheartening, I would say, missing pieces, but, you know, we have to respect the verdict and the process that took its course.
And while they try to move on with their lives, the Ahmad family is hoping that police no longer have any reason to be keeping tabs on them, as though they are suspects in some sort of illegal activity that is yet to be revealed.
You highlight something that, you know, our family has been struggling with for a couple of years, right? The fact that we have been unnecessarily harassed and being targeted, you know, unjustifiably, right? We hope now that the fact that, you know, the process has taken its course and, you know, there was an investigation and there was a trial and this is the outcome of it. We just hope now that our family can, you know, continue to live in peace and all the harassment and the ongoing surveillance over us is, you know, ceased. Our plea to the government and to the police is that, listen, we've continued and proven ourselves as law-abiding, productive citizens in this country, right? Each one of us have vested and invested positively and constructively in this country. There is absolutely no reason to be, you know, for us to be under that surveillance. And if there is, then let it manifest itself in terms of the evidence.
Reporting for 7 News, Daniel Ortiz.
A correction, that should have been trial without a jury. And although there were no eyewitnesses to the actual shooting, the prosecutor relied on circumstantial evidence which pointed to Brown as Ahmad's assailant. She told the court that Brown's service weapon was found in the wreckage of the vehicle, although Brown testified that another cop mysteriously ended in Ahmad's vehicle and that he shot Ahmad from the back seat. The prosecutor asserted that there was no evidence to support her sensational claim. But Justice Williams, in the nearly 2-hour readout of his judgment this morning, outlined gaps in the evidence, which caused him to have reasonable doubt that Brown pulled the trigger. Although the judge did not believe Brown's defense testimony about some other killer cop, he made it clear that in a court of law, Brown doesn't have to prove her innocence. He reminded the court that the prosecution had the burden of proving her guilt. First, the judge pointed out that the prosecution did not adequately prove that the weapon found in the wreckage of the SUV was a murder weapon that was actually issued to Brown. One officer testified in court that at the beginning of that workday, he handed over a police-issued firearm to Brown and that Brown failed to return it when her shift ended. But he did not produce any documentary evidence to support this claim. And during his testimony, he made a critical error about the weapon's make and model. There was also no direct evidence that the weapon found in the wreckage of Ahmad's vehicle was the weapon that was used to shoot him. The judge pointed out that one of the prosecution's witnesses testified that she took samples of what appeared to be blood stains on the weapon and that these were tested. However, that test, which could have conclusively determined that this was the murder weapon, was never actually produced as evidence in the trial. Also, the judge pointed out that a key element on a murder conviction is that an accused inflicted unlawful harm and that this harm had to be intentionally done to kill. In this case, the judge was not satisfied that the prosecution proved that Brown shot Ahmad and that she did so with an intent to kill. With that, he found Brown not guilty and ordered that she was free to leave. And while that dramatic Supreme Court decision was the hottest news of the day, The new COVID regulations laid out today will be with us for weeks, maybe more. This morning, the Ministry of Health and Wellness hosted a long-awaited press conference, rolling out the new SI that will come into effect on December 20th, deployed to quickly contain the fast increasing number of COVID cases and deaths. And even though we say new SI, its regulations are similar to previous ones under the Barrow administration. Familiar regulations like curfews, mandatory face masks, and social distancing are still in place, along with other protocols like limited inter-district travel that the police and the ministry will enforce with random spot checks. Minister of Health, Michelle Shabat, gave a brief overview of the new regulations.
Starting on the 20th of December, the curfew being imposed will commence at 8 p.m. and it will go to 5 a.m. For minors, children under 16 years old, the curfew will begin at 6 p.m. and that will last to 5 a.m. The sale of liquor will be restricted from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. with the exception of those restaurants that are in hotels. There is now going to be a penalty for persons who have tested positive and are not adhering to the mandatory quarantine. The penalty for not wearing a mask will continue. We are now introducing a restriction to public transportation where buses and water taxis will only be permitted to carry 50% of their seating capacity. In terms of businesses who violate and employees who violate these regulations, a $200 fine will be imposed on employees and on employers a $5,000 fine, and a second violation by employers will result in their business being closed for a period of 7 days. We're also going to be imposing a fine for those people who continue to have parties at their homes. Businesses are only going to be allowed a 50% customer base, which is going to be based on their square footage. We're introducing a limit to non-essential travel, inter-district travel from Corozal and Orange Walk districts. The concept behind limiting this non-essential inter-district movement is very simple. In view of the fact that we are unable to sustain the type of protracted nationwide limitation of movement of the nature and scope that we have seen in other countries, the localized inter-district movement limitation instead seeks to attain a fall in the incidences and overall rate of transmission at the municipal and subnational levels.
The Minister of Home Affairs used his presentation to explain the regulations in depth, Uncle Parafit style, minus the one-liners. Musa began by explaining the basics, the curfew, and the dreaded Christmas parties expected to occur.
This curfew of 8 p.m. excludes workers in the following professions: the security forces, Customs and Excise Department, the Department of Immigration Services, frontline healthcare providers with the Ministry of Health, or any other essential worker issued a badge by the Minister of Home Affairs. The Attorney General's ministry is currently drafting legislation that early in the new year we will be presenting so that police officers can issue tickets. So that is not in place yet. So you will still be detained, you will still be taken to the police station process, and you will still need to go to court at least until that law is passed. So no type of private gathering is allowed. You cannot organize, host, or attend private gatherings. 10 people maximum. So every now and again you might have a visitor. unexpected. That's different from hosting a private gathering. You can have a visitor, but make sure it is never over 10 people. The moment you're over 10 people inside your residence, then everybody can be charged under this SI.
There's a $500 fine for people caught without wearing face masks, and business owners can be held liable if customers are in their establishments without masks. There are also a few more regulations in place for businesses, both big and small.
In terms of inside your building, business owners have to ensure that customers, including staff, must not make up more than 50% maximum capacity of your building. So if your building can hold 100 people, which includes customers and staff, you now can only have 50 people inside your business. Department stores, hardware stores, dry goods stores, and shops, we're going to have justices of the peace assigned to your business. If your business is more than 2,000 square feet in size, we will have justices of the peace assigned to your business, and you will be responsible for paying the cost of having these justices of the peace. Because you know BPOs, they don't have customers per se, but they have hundreds of employees. And so these regulations apply to them. The following regulations apply to them. So the justices of the peace will not be assigned to BPOs. So let me make that clear, because they don't have customers. But the responsibility for BPOs and other businesses still lies with the managers and owners. So they are to ensure that the employees are observing social distance among the workers, face masks at all times. They are to install hand wash stations at the entrance and within the BPO company. And they are to ensure that no more than 2 people are seated at any one table, and that during lunch breaks, the seating capacity of that particular room is up to 50% and no more. All businesses, including BPOs, shall appoint a COVID-19 internal auditor who will prepare and submit weekly reports to the Ministry of Health. Businesses are to implement a shift system unless they are essential businesses. And essential businesses are those involved in health, tourism, banking, law enforcement, agriculture, or food. So all other businesses, if you are not essential, you must implement a shift system. Every employer of non-essential business shall implement measures to allow their employees to work from home where possible.
Bars, nightclubs, gyms, and gaming establishments must remain closed. Spas, beauty salons, and barbershops are only allowed 2 customers at a time. Unless the building is small, then only 1 customer can be inside. Restaurants can still be open for takeout, delivery, or drive-through. Those with outdoor or open-air seating can have customers dine in, but they must make a reservation, and only 50% of seating capacity is allowed. As for churches, no more than 10 people are allowed inside for mass, weddings, and funerals. Contact sports are still disallowed, and those who exercise outdoors must maintain a 6-foot social distance. Now, one group caught on the bad side of these new regulations are the bus operators. They are being told that they can only travel at half capacity, which is like telling them to stay home. That's because they'll take a loss on every run at 50% capacity. And we know that the buses are threatening a complete shutdown if that measure is imposed on them. Today, the Minister of Home Affairs proposed that some form of subsidy would have to be put in place.
So we have to find ways, creative ways, in order to subsidize the bus operators. So that is something that we are addressing at this very moment. And I'm hoping that by Monday, latest Tuesday, we can have a resolution on that particular issue.
But that subsidy may not be necessary. Late reports to 7 News are that the National Bus Association has gotten a commitment from a senior government official that they will be allowed to travel at full capacity once they strictly observe all sanitary measures and mask wearing. President of the National Bus Association, Andy Shaw, told us that senior official told him that 50% capacity limitation will be put on hold for the time being. And while hopefully your bus will be there and on time on Monday, what most folks want to know right now is the timeline for the COVID-19 vaccine. When will it arrive and who will get it? Here's what the experts told us today.
We are procuring 238,800 doses of vaccines, and that will cover the initial 30% of the population that we intend to vaccinate. The vaccines, we are engaging through the COVAX facility, which is a specialized agency, along with the World Health Organizations and other specialized agencies in vaccines. And they are looking at the different vaccines that are under production. There is more than 154 vaccines that are being produced. They have shortlisted currently 9 vaccines, but we still have to wait on the result of these 9 vaccines that they have enlisted currently. And once a decision is made, then Belize will have access to the vaccines. In regards to the timeline, we're looking at April 2021. And with the COVAX facility, we are ensuring access to quality vaccines. It's to cover 119,000 Belizeans. And we have different target population. The priority will be those at higher risk, frontline workers, especially the Ministry of Health staff that is dealing directly with the positive cases, followed by elderlies and persons with chronic diseases.
Belize is a part of the international COVAX initiative, which is working with vaccine manufacturers to provide countries worldwide with equitable access to the COVID-19 vaccine. But before the vaccine arrives, Belizeans are turning to a drug typically used to kill head lice to treat COVID-19 patients. Ivermectin, typically used to treat all types of parasite infections, is being globally recognized as a drug that may be effective for the treatment of early onset mild COVID-19 in adult patients. The acting DHS explained how it is being used in Belize.
We have recently placed ivermectin as well as convalescent plasma on our protocol. And this has been done because there is evidence. It's not necessarily studies done here locally, but we do know that worldwide, a lot of countries have actually done a lot of research and studies into ivermectin, and it has been placed in the protocols for many countries, including the United States as well. It is an off-licensed drug, so that's important. It is not licensed for the use of COVID-19, but research and articles have shown that it has improved both for prophylaxis, mild, moderate, and severe care. And for that reason, our COVID medical response group met, and we made a decision to place it on our protocols starting from last week, and we have procured the medication as well. And we are actually in discussion to start doing this research. We know certain parts of the country it has been used a bit more than others, so we can definitely retrospectively look at the persons who have started ivermectin and actually do our own research in country to determine whether or not it was effective or it is effective.
Oh, this is on a voluntary basis, correct?
Well, it's not mandatory, but it has to be given by a prescription. You should not go out and purchase ivermectin on your own. And before you're given it, you would be explained by the medical practitioner or the person prescribing exactly what the use of the medication is and how it works and what the contraindications are.
And while ivermectin is readily available, hospital beds could be getting scarce. Today, the new chairman of the KHMH gave an overview of space available and discussed plans to expand the National Referral Hospital's COVID capacity.
Presently, at the KHMH, we have capacity for 36 patients with COVID-19 and patients under investigation for COVID-19. We have planned to expand further the capacity, and we hope to be able to accommodate for 45 patients total. For today, I can tell you that there are 17 COVID-related patients admitted at Carl Huschner. Of those, 12 are confirmed cases of COVID-19. 5 of those patients are being ventilated. Additionally, we have 5 patients being investigated for COVID-19, but we don't have diagnosis as yet to confirm that indeed they are COVID positive.
Today's COVID numbers show 42 persons in the hospital with 5 in the ICU. And we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll tell you about 2 murders, one in Belize City, the other in Punta Gorda. And police and gangsters shoot it out in a hot zone, and a woman hit in the crossfire.
Benny's in 60 seconds.
Hey Belize, Benny's Deal Alert season is here, and we have some great deals for you.
Deals, deals, and more deals. From now up until December 31st, enjoy Deal Alert discounts on our line of paints, such as BH paints, Texturelight paints, and Tropical Colors paints. Deal Alert markdowns will also be applied on a wide selection of tiles, lights and fans, tools, appliances, and much more.
And remember, whenever you make a purchase, you get double tickets to enter our cash giveaway draw on December 19th to win $10,000.
That's right, it's a Deal Alert. It's a Benny's Deal Alert. So shop now, get great deals and your tickets for the chance to win the $10,000 grand prize only at Benny's.
Benny's in 60 seconds.
Delicate, the beer of Belize.
It goes without saying that 2020 was a most challenging year. During the disruption caused by COVID-19, RF&G Insurance took the opportunity to use technology to come up with new solutions for doing business with our customers. This includes expanded use of social media platforms, as well as the launch of our own RF&G online platform, which provides our clients with secure, direct access to their insurance accounts, their related policies, and even allows them to file and monitor claims. At a community level, RF&G has continued to focus its support on causes and organizations in need of assistance. For the Christmas holidays, we have funded an initiative that will enable our staff members to give back within their own communities to neighbors who have been worst hit by the pandemic. We wish you, your families and work colleagues a safe 2021, and we look forward to assisting you with your insurance needs and advice throughout the year.
Buenos días. 2 boletos para Ficacas, por favor. Ida y vuelta. 54. Ese dinero es falso. ¿Falso? Sí, este billete es falso.
¿Y por qué es
falso?
Porque un verdadero billete de $50 tiene una marca de agua en la forma de un jaguar con la marca de agua y electrotipia de denominación y un hilo de seguridad.
Conozca su dinero. Reconozca el billete falso al verlo. No se confíe en solo una de las características de seguridad. Busque la claridad y calidad de la impresión. Las líneas y el color impresos deben ser nítidas y claras. Sienta la calidad del papel y de la impresión levantada. Ponga el billete a la luz y observe. El hilo de seguridad avantanillada debe formar una línea completa cuando se pone a la luz. La marca de agua y la electrotipia de denominación, el Jaguar, es la marca de agua en los billetes de $100 y $50. El gigante dormido es la marca de agua en los billetes de 20, 10, 5 y $2. El registro perfecto. Las partes del diseño impreso en la parte posterior deben caber exactamente dentro de las áreas sin imprimir en el frente del billete para formar el diseño completo. Revise los billetes de $100 para saber si está el holograma del tucán con la impresión sobrepuesta de la flor de vinca per vinca. Inclínelo para ver las imágenes pequeñas del tucán y el numeral 100. Revise los billetes de $50 para saber si está la imagen del pez ángel en color verde plateado. Mira más cerca. Utilice luz ultravioleta para ver los elementos fluorescentes. Utilice una lupa para ver las letras más pequeñas que leen Central Bank of Belize y el valor del billete. Detenga la circulación de los billetes beliceños falsos. Pasa todas las falsificaciones a la policía inmediatamente. Es una ofensa criminal guardar o utilizar falsificaciones. Esté a salvo, esté seguro, conozca su dinero.
The virus that causes COVID-19 may be spreading in our community. People might have the disease even if they have no symptoms at all, even when they look healthy. Because the virus needs us to spread from one person to another, we can stop it from infecting others if we practice physical distancing. That means stay at least 6 feet away from other persons. Don't shake hands or exchange hugs. Do not gather in groups. Stay home if government officials tell you to do so. Use social media or telephone to communicate. Avoid crowded and enclosed spaces. Work from home if you can. Stay home if you are sick, except to get medical care. Avoid close contact with sick people. Don't visit anyone who's sick in quarantine or in isolation. Give them a call instead. Help keep Belize safe.
Contraband is the illegal importation of goods such as alcohol, tobacco, foods, and parts. Apart from breaking the law, smugglers are also now endangering the health of all Belizeans. They risk bringing coronavirus into Belize with their contraband. To keep COVID-19 out of Belize, everyone entering the country is screened and quarantined. But contraband smugglers are not using legal entry points and are bypassing all safety measures. And these same smugglers are moving among the population. They could be carrying the virus. By coming into the country illegally, they could cause outbreaks of COVID-19. Buying or smuggling contraband is putting yourself, your family, and the entire country at risk. Report smuggling. For SMART, call 0800-JUMPERS or 0800-BORDERS. For Digi, 0800-SAVE-BZE. This message is brought to you by the Belize Police Department and the Belize Bank.
El contrabando es importar ilegalmente productos como el alcohol, tabaco, comida y objetos. Aparte de romper la ley, los contrabandistas están poniendo ahora en riesgo la salud de los beliceños. Ellos arriesgan traer coronavirus a Belice por medio de sus contrabandos. Para mantener el COVID-19 fuera de Belice, todos los que entren al país son examinados y encuarentenados. Sin embargo, los contrabandistas no utilizan los puntos de entrada legal y se saltan todas las medidas de seguridad. Estos mismos traficantes se están moviendo entre la población. Ellos podrían tener el virus. Al entrar ilícitamente al país, esto puede provocar un brote de COVID-19. Comprar o traficar contrabando te pone a ti, a tu familia y a todo tu país en riesgo. Para números de Smart, llama al 0800-586-7377, 0800-267-3377 y para Digi 0800-728-3293 para reportar cualquier actividad de contrabando. Este mensaje es presentado por el Departamento de Policía de Belice y el Banco de Belice.
Tonight, there's a family in mourning for a husband, a father, and a breadwinner. It's one of those rarer Belize City murders with no motive and very little explanation. The result being that Augustin Coc, who, like the rest of us, should have been looking forward to spending a quarantine Christmas at home, has been forever separated from his wife and young family. Here's that story. There was a tragedy on Partridge Street last night. 28-year-old Augustin Coc gunned down, shot in the back while on his way home from work. It's a scenario that neither Augustin nor anyone close to him would ever have contemplated as his end. And this evening, with his wife too distraught to relive the event, his brother-in-law spoke to us off camera to explain how she came to hear the sounds of her husband's demise.
He clocked off work around 6:30. He made it around, they dropped him off by Cemetery Road, Partridge, around 6:54, 6:50, around that time. And he was walking down, at that time they dropped him off and he walked down Partridge, called my sister and asked my sister if she wanted something to eat. And my sister was, she was like, no, she never want nothing to eat, food at home. And he insists. He said, babe, I'll bring something to eat. And she okay then. And so at that time, she heard the first shot. And she heard Augustin ask, what happened? And after that, she heard a couple shots after that. She had a babe, she was Augustin, and she didn't get no response. So she heard somebody in the background, a female voice saying, he dead, let's go. So and after that she what? So she called back again because get no answer. Call back the phone and no answer, no answer. So now she got a feeling, something happened to him because get no response, and that just heard that in the background. So she, some picture was circulating already, and my sister came to me, one of my sisters, and showed me some pictures and said, isn't this Augustin? Because everybody came in the yard and my sister alert with something wrong. So I looked at the picture and I saw the first picture and I was like, you have a next one, and then we passed the second one, and then I realized, I said, yeah, I look like Augustin. So we rushed out the yard, bam, got a bike, went on the scene. She was on the scene crying, and seeing Augustin on the street, sidewalk, it was I don't know, it was unbearable.
It's especially unbearable for Augustin's mother, who today traveled to Belize City to settle her son's final affairs.
I'm feeling so down because then I didn't expect this to happen to my son because he worked from work to home, from home to work. And I always talk to him, son, don't go do bother nobody. You are not a bad person. I didn't teach you to go do things out there. So it's very hard for me. Augustin grew up in Camalote village. He found his girlfriend in St. George's Key, and they met each other when he was 16 years old, and they start to live life, and that's why he ended up here in Belize City. I raised him as a single mother for 15 years, and I didn't expect this for my son.
It's a crime that's also puzzled the police, but they're going with the wrong place, wrong time scenario.
What we know is that Mr. Coc had just concluded his day work and was dropped off at the corner Partridge and Cemetery Road when he was walking on Partridge Street, and he was approached by someone who fired the fatal shots at him. The motive, so far we have not established it, but I can tell you that Mr. Coc has not had any encounter with the authorities, and he does not appear in our records, none at all. We know that he's a hard-working person, and probably that he had nothing to do with these issues that is happening in that area at this moment.
But while that's the official position, Augustin's family feels that it may be an oversimplification. They say that Augustin had been targeted before, beaten up and robbed. He just never reported it.
If you see these guys, shot that young man and went over him and give him whatsoever, man, that was too cool. Augustin is from work to home. He is the breadwinner for that family, and man, it's really devastating what they did to Augustin and in the manner they did it to Augustin.
Cherise Halto, 7 News. Augustin would have turned 29 next week. He and his wife were raising 4 children, 2 she had from a previous relationship, and a 7- and 8-year-old that they'd had together. And another murder victim was found yesterday morning off the Waterhole Road a few miles outside of Punta Gorda town. It's a strange case since police were initially reports of arson in the area. But only 100 yards away from a burnt-up SUV, they found the body of 37-year-old Darwin Chavarria. Chavarria was reported missing by his family on Wednesday night after his common-law wife returned home around 4 in the evening and noticed that the back door was damaged and the house ransacked. She waited a while to see if Chavarria would come home and grew worried when he didn't. Today, we spoke with Chavarria's aunt via telephone, and she said that Chavarria did not trouble anyone, but had recently come into a large sum of money after he sold a boat. The family believes he was being monitored closely and that the motive may have been robbery.
We don't know. That's what the puzzle we right now. We want to know what are the problems. Because I know a person way, I know by the way, always, getting a problem, I know I fight a person, I know I trouble person, I know a fool person. So that's what the puzzle we know. We want to know the what. All I really ask yourself, the what going on, we don't know. Maybe pray that at least if we're finding, we don't mind if the time up, but they're still alive or it's Yes, I hear that when they checked for truth, the door was kicked down and the house was packed. The telephone was there on the ground, everything was there. Slippers, so it looked like when they're taking their foot without any footwear on. Nobody was there because nobody Kamala have one land to play for. She go work every day. So she leaves home every time like 7:30 in the morning. She not reach back home till maybe 5:30 minutes to 6. So most of the time, only him there and his brother-in-law. But that morning, it looked like the brother-in-law must have gone out and do errands too. That's our puzzle because we always say, anytime you go there, you always find him and the brother-in-law always there. But the young boy must have gone to buy him too. Like the person them must only make the gun to see when the boy left.
The vehicle found belongs to one of Chavarria's friends. Chavarria leaves behind one 12-year-old daughter. When we asked police about this incident today, they refrained from giving details, saying the story was constantly changing. There was a shootout on Lakeview Street this morning as police and gang members exchanged fire. The cops say they surprised the gangsters in the act of shooting up a rival base, while the neighborhood says the police came in guns blazing. And when the smoke cleared, all 3 men were injured and rushed to the KHMH for treatment. But there was also a woman injured in the shootout. And this morning, her sister told us that the police are chancy and that the commissioner only ever takes one side. This was the early morning scene on the corner of Lakeview and Bannock Streets. Bullet casings as far as the eye could see, the result of an exchange of gunfire between a member of the Mayflower gang and the police. It happened at about 8:30 when that gang member allegedly shot up a residence thought to be the base of the Bannock Street gang. Special branch personnel were in the area and rushed there after hearing shots fired. They shot at the gunmen, and the gunmen allegedly returned fire. But it turns out civilians were caught in that crossfire. We spoke to one woman who says that her sister, Nikita Smith, known in the alley as Bull, was one of the victims.
Well, I get a phone call from my family members, and we actually live through here. They tell me that the whole was shooting me take place through Mayflower Street, and my sister, the one will get shot, beside the other three people that will get shot. So immediately I get dressed and I come, and then when I come, get to understand that the first shooting was from one of the guys in that hang on Bannock Street with the man there, shot one of the guys there we hang through here because the gang crowd kind of broke in half. So right now the wally war between Bannock crowd and the Mayflower Street crowd. So, and we know this been happening for months. No care how you call Chester, no care what you tell Chester, that apparently to him, on the Chuya, the crowd them from Chuya that they bad egg.
And this morning, some of that very same crowd from the alley ended up shot. Not just Nikita Smith, but 3 men. There was Shamar Kelly, the initial shooting victim, but also his cousins, Ainsworth Foreman, also known as Maka, and Lionel Kelly, known as Jun.
The first shooting, the boy from Bannock Street was shoot the boy from Chuya. Everybody here, somebody get shot through the alley, so everybody they run to go see that who they shoot. When they reach back there, the police and me done the back there. So the police see the crowd, they come and they start to shoot. But if you want to contain a crowd, you shoot up in the air. Why you shoot directly to people? And that way cause the other 3 people left to get shot. My sister, the one, and they will get shot in the foot.
The alley and its surrounding streets can expect a heightened police presence all weekend. It's a measure to stop possible retaliations. But is it too little, too late? Miss, this was an early morning shooting, and we know that you said there's gang business going on, but is it still in any way shocking to you that all these bullets would be fired off at that hour?
Well, in this society, the way how things go right now, with COVID or no COVID, nothing shock you. Because late the night, man, they get shot. Early the morning, big day, people they get shot. So no, nothing no surprise me.
Cherise Halsall, 7 News. 2 of the shooting victims have since been treated and released from the KHMH. And here's the police's version of events of the shooting. According to Superintendent Alejandro Coc, earlier reports of a minor being injured in the crossfire were untrue.
Police has been aggressively conducting searches in this area because we know that there's an increase of rivalry between the 2 gang elements within that area. And early this morning, they responded to shots being fired. And upon police arrival, they observed 3 male persons fleeing from the area. When police attempted to stop them, they fired shots at the police, and the police responded by firing shots at them. In the process, 3 persons were injured, and a female who was also coming out, she received a gunshot injury. That female was treated and discharged this morning, along with one of the other male persons. What we understand is that initially, a male person from the Mayflower area was seen walking in the Bannock area, and someone from the Bannock area pursued the person and fired shot at him. Later on, that person came back along with other person. They fired shot at the other person who had fired shot to them earlier. And as a result, while that was happening, the 3 male persons, they were fleeing from the area at the same time when the unmarked police arrived and they encountered and they had the shootout between them. So far, there has been no minor that we know. 4 persons were taken to the hospital, 2 were discharged, and 2 of them are still admitted.
The assailants, still admitted in the hospital, are under police guard. A little over 2 weeks after former Chief Education Officer Carol Babb was terminated, the Ministry of Education has selected a replacement. She is career educator Yolanda Gongora. Gongora holds a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of North Florida and has over 30 years of service in education in the country. She has worked as a teacher, principal, and former director of general school services at the Ministry of Education. The release says, quote, Gongora has demonstrated her dedication to the provision of efficient and effective educational service, end quote. In this city, she is perhaps most well known as former headmistress. And we take a break now. When we come back, you'll hear the IDB's president speak about support to Belize for the vaccine program.
60 seconds. Benny's in 60 seconds.
Hey Belize, Benny's Deal Alert season is here, and we have some great deals for you.
Deals, deals, and more deals. From now up until December 31st, enjoy Deal Alert discounts on our line of paints, such as BH paints, Texturelite paints, and Tropical Colors paints. Deal Alert markdowns will also be applied on a wide selection of tiles, lights and fans, tools, appliances, and much more.
And remember, whenever you make a purchase, you get double tickets to enter our cash giveaway draw on December 19th to win $10,000.
That's right, it's a Deal Alert. It's a Benny's Deal Alert. So shop now, get great deals, and your tickets for the chance to win the $10,000 grand prize only at Benny's.
Benny's in 60 seconds.
So the new stricter COVID regulations come into effect on Sunday, December 20th. And the main trigger for them is the continuing sharp increase in COVID cases and deaths over the past few months. 2 new deaths, both males, were recorded today. 5 people are still in the ICU and 42 are still hospitalized. Today's number of new cases stands at 138. On the other hand, recoveries surpassed this number at 161. Recovery percentage is 82.7 due to the new protocol that a person is considered to have recovered 14 days after infection. Out of the new cases identified, 48 of them were discovered in the Cayo district. Belize and Orange Walk both had 20 and Corozal had 19. There are 1,500 active cases and the total numbers of deaths are 215. Our case fatality rate is at 2.17%. We are nearing the 10,000 mark on total confirmed cases as we currently stand at 9,929. And of course, Director of Health Services Dr. Marvin Manzanero is one of those cases as he continues to recover from COVID-19. But when he does recover and return from leave, where will he fit in with the new Ministry of Health team? At the press conference today, that was still undecided and not up for too much elaboration.
Okay, and what will be Dr. Manzanero's position? You've spoken about the team that's been put together, but I didn't hear his name mentioned. I know the last thing you said was that you were in discussions with him as to where he would best fit, but then after that he had to be hospitalized.
He still is, and as I have said many times to the media, the conversation with him is a continuing one.
And while Dr. Mansa will now have COVID antibodies, most of the vulnerable population will be eagerly awaiting that COVID vaccine we told you about earlier in the news. Vaccines for 30% of the population are slated to arrive in the country in April of 2021. This is through a collaborative effort with the Inter-American Development Bank. In a recorded statement, the president of the IDB, Mauricio Claver Caron, shared his support for Belize and commitment to assist in getting the economy up and running again.
We are the only multilateral development bank with a presence in Belize, and we have a very special relationship with Belize. So we've initially provided about almost $500,000 in order to have access initially for down payment on the COVAX facility for the vaccines, which will provide about 250,000 doses in Belize, which would really cover about 30% of the population. And the reason why we have been so forward-leaning in regards to reprogramming this $1 billion and ensuring that all of our member nations all of our borrowing nations have access to the vaccine, and particularly countries like Belize, which have been so reliant on the tourism industry. We want you to be able to reactivate your economy. About 40% of your economy in Belize is based on tourism. 50% of your exports, more or less, are also based on tourism. So therefore, it's very important for us to help you deal with the vaccine so that we can reactivate the tourism in Belize, and you're able to do so safely, securely, and promptly. Therefore, we want to make sure that in the first quarter of 2021, no stone is left unturned in regards to the access and the distribution around it. We're working really closely with Belize, the officials in Belize, the Ministry of Health and others, in order to ensure the cold storage. Now, Belize is blessed with beautiful warm weather, but unfortunately, the vaccine requires cold storage. So we're helping also with that and the entire infrastructure surrounding that. So we're very pleased to be working with Belize on these efforts. We've already been helping in support of safety nets for vulnerable populations in Belize, of which we have provided about $12 million. And that was particularly important. It was a fastest bursting investment loan, which was allowed cash transfers for over 60% of people in Belize who were previously formally employed, and over 9,000 people who were employed in the informal sector to help support that safety net. So Belize has been very present in our mind. We want to continue working closely with the authorities there to help the people there and to reactivate the economy as promptly as possible, which is why we've been forward-leaning to be able to provide assistance for vaccine acquisition and distribution in the first quarter of 2021.
And while the vaccine will take about 4 more months to reach Belize, the truth is U.S. travelers to this country may soon be arriving already inoculated with it. The vaccine is being rolled out to vulnerable populations in the U.S. and other developed countries this week. And also, when tourists arrive in the country, they also either arrive with a COVID test or take a quick one when they land. And that's why tourists are being allowed to travel to gold standard hotels within all districts, including Orange Walk and Corozal. But what about local tourists? Well, they can't travel to the northern districts. Unlike foreign visitors, here's how the Attorney General, Magali Marin Young, put it.
International tourists will be allowed inter-district travel, not for local tourists, all right? This was a weighted decision. I mean, a lot had to go into it, but the fear is that if locals become tourists and wanting to go to the next nearby village. So because of that concern that it may be abused and the seriousness with which we have to restrict travel, it's only international tourists who will be allowed to travel to Orange Walk and Corozal. On tours, of course.
While you're traveling, you still need to wear a face mask, or you could get a ticket. The Minister of Home Affairs announced today that early next year, the police will be allowed to issue tickets for breaking certain quarantine regulations. But that raises the issue of officers who may take advantage of this new system by extorting violators to pay a bribe on the spot rather than get a ticket. Minister Musa says even that is a disincentive.
And so any of those systems, whether it's a ticketing system or whether it's an officer threatening to take you to the police station, one could argue that is even more severe. That if an officer comes to you and says, Courtney, I am going to arrest and detain you and put you in his house, but on the side you could give me $100. That is even a greater threat on you, Courtney, than one saying, I'm going to give you a ticket of $500. And so any particular system that's in place is open to abuse. But at the same time, this particular measure has become necessary because the police department, like our healthcare frontline professionals, are getting infected. Currently, we have 160 police officers who are COVID positive. We have another 145 of them who are awaiting their results. And so what we have seen is that the engagement with the public, we have to find a way to minimize that.
In other news, Dolores Balderramos Garcia, the minister responsible for Indigenous Peoples Affairs, met yesterday with representatives of the Toledo Alcaldes Association, the Maya Leaders Alliance, and the Julian Cho Society. The meeting was held at the invitation of the minister as a first step in which she is meeting key partners in the Maya leadership. She is also attempting to acquaint herself with the complex issues surrounding the 2015 consent order of the Caribbean Court of Justice on Maya customary land tenure. The government says that there was an agreement on priority actions and the next steps for a collaborative effort, especially since the next compliance hearing with the CCJ is scheduled for January 21st, 2021. Balderramos Garcia was also there for a humanitarian relief donation from the government of Brazil. The food items, hygiene kits, water, and mattresses are earmarked for Belizeans who continue to suffer in the aftermath of the hurricanes Eta and Iota, which brought massive flooding countrywide last month. As we told you a few days ago, there is a new Guatemalan ambassador to Belize, Erwin Rudy Archiafaya, and today he presented his credentials to Ambassador Stuart Leslie, the cabinet secretary who is deputizing for Governor General Sir Colville Young. During a brief meeting at the Belize House in Belmopan, the Governor General welcomed Ambassador Archiafaya to Belize. A release says both ambassadors expressed their hopes for greater cooperation between the two neighboring countries, as well as their desire to see the Guatemalan claim to Belize's territory resolved at the International Court of Justice. Her Excellency Marianne Van Steen The ambassador of the European Union to Belize also presented her credentials to the acting GG, but she did so virtually. And that's all we have for you on 7 News tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Cherise Halsell. You can see a stream of the news at 7newsbelize.com and on our Facebook page. Remember that tonight's 10 o'clock curfew becomes an 8 o'clock curfew on Sunday night. Remember also to wash your hands, keep a social and physical distance of 6 feet, wear a mask, and stay home as much as possible, because the spread of the virus is expected to worsen over the holiday season. Stay safe and join Indira Craig back here on Monday. Good night and have a great week.